Hi, Tim Burns with your Better Business Bureau here. It's tax season and we're here with Jeff Beck from Walsh Company to talk a little bit about what you should be aware of when you're hiring a tax professional to file your taxes this year. Thanks for coming out and talking with us, Jeff.
Thank you.
So tell us, what are some things that people should be on the lookout for when they're trying to hire someone to prepare their taxes for them?
Well, the first thing is you want to meet the professional, speak with them. Referrals are always great because friends, family that have experience with their tax professional, they would know whether it's a good person to go to or not. You would want to check their background. You could go online for the BBB, check with the state societies for any complaints or history of any ethical violations.
Okay.
Like CPAs would be the Department of Labor for licensing.
Okay.
And also enrolled agents. They have their own training, and you could check on them also with that.
Okay. What should people be aware of when it comes to getting their return in regards to getting their refund? Are there some people that may promise things that aren't reasonable, or that people should be alert to watch out for?
Well, you definitely want to get a tax professional that is ethical and above board on everything that they do. There should be nothing hidden, no hidden fees or no upfront fees. The advanced loans, advanced on the refunds, those are good if you need the money, but they usually have high rates of interest tied to them. Also be wary of anybody who can promise you a larger refund based on their history of their hidden skills or secret knowledge.
Okay. Now, this year the IRS has a new program where if you have under $57,000 in adjusted income, you can file for free, I guess, and get your direct deposit within so many times. Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Yes, it's all online. It's through the IRS's website, and it is for the returns that are lower and more of a simple format. If you have a more difficult return that has a lot of different transactions, stock sales, gains, those types of things, or additional deductions, you would want to seek a tax professional on that. But the returns, the IRS has been very good with the electronic filing. With direct deposit going directly into your checking or savings account, they always say about 3 weeks, but we've seen within 5 to 10 days refunds appearing. And the good news is within the last year they've had the option, you can deposit your refund in up to 3 different checking or savings accounts.
Okay.
You can even directly have that deposited into an IRA account.
Okay. Now, do you recommend that anyone who's itemizing should have someone else prepare their taxes for them, or when do you really need to have a professional compared to when you should do it yourself for filing?
It's all the individual's comfort level. The more difficult the return is, the more transactions, the more they would need to seek a professional. The basic returns, a lot, as you said, you could do online. And then as soon as you add additional deductions, the itemizations, the value of a tax professional comes out when these additional deductions can be found and make sure that you get everything included that you're allowed to get deducted.
Now, people are always talking about charitable deductions. If you're going to be claiming any charitable deductions, what are some things that people should be aware of?
Well, that's become a big topic with the Internal Revenue Service over the last 2.5, 3 years. What I recommend anybody do, because a lot of the charitable deductions, be it non-cash items, clothing, things going to Salvation Army or Purple Heart, take pictures of the items. They have to be in what's called good or better condition, and document what you have. In the past, you used to be able to just get the slip and throw in an estimate of how much the value is. The key for everything now is documentation, and of course, as soon as you get up to higher dollar amounts of non-cash charitable donations, additional documentation may be required from going all the way up to independent appraisals.
Okay. Medical expenses is a big issue too. When can you actually deduct medical expenses from your taxes?
That's when it's limited to 7.5% of the taxpayer's adjusted gross income. That would be the bottom line on page 1. Anything over 7.5% of that is a deductible expense. So that 7.5 limit knocks a lot of people out of it. Items that people don't realize that they can deduct, especially if they're preparing their own return, is mileage to and from the doctor's office. And also if they receive Social Security, they're going to have a deduction for Medicare, and that is a deductible medical expense.
Okay. You have someone else prepare your tax form for you, and there's some mistakes in it. Whose responsibility is it when someone comes knocking at your door to say there's been an error?
Well, the tax professional should definitely be first in line to help resolve the issue. If it's a matter of information that was left off the return because the preparer didn't receive that, then usually it's just a matter of adjusting that return and correcting it. If it's a matter of the tax professional missed something or did not deduct something on it, it definitely falls in the responsibility of the tax preparer.
Now, what if the tax preparer is overly aggressive in deductions, or maybe does some deductions that really aren't justified, and as a filer you may not necessarily have realized that, you just took their recommendation and signed the form? Who is responsible in those situations?
Ultimately, the taxpayer is the one who's responsible for it. The preparer is required to sign the return, but the ultimate responsibility is the tax preparer. And that's a good, going back to choosing the tax preparer, it's good to discuss with them, find out what their perception is, whether they're overly aggressive or if they're extremely conservative. You want a good match between the preparer and the individual. If something, as I said, the person is the ultimate responsibility. So the biggest key to all returns is read and understand everything before you sign it.
Are there any other hang-ups that you've seen clients deal with over your years in the business?
Several actually new clients that we've received were people who have prepared their own returns in the past and had used the software programs. The software programs can be very good, but the number one issue that could have saved them a lot of time and grief is doing all of the updates. The software packages hit the shelves prior to the IRS approving all of the tax forms.
Okay.
That is the number one reason why we see clients stop preparing their own and start coming to us.
Okay. And as someone's a first-time filer, what is some advice you would give to them?
Start getting organized. Set up a folder of tax documents, things that you may receive throughout the year, and keep that folder organized. And when you do take it into a tax professional, or if you prepare it yourself, you'll have all the documents together in one spot. That'll save you a lot of time and energy, especially it'll prevent you from having to go out to outside sources to request information.
And what are the must-have documents that everyone should have when they file their taxes?
Anything that comes in from employers, banks, these would be your 1099s, the 1098s for mortgage interest statements, W-2s, anything that comes on one of the governmental forms. That is the information that the IRS is going to be receiving, and they're going to have reported on the system, and they're very good at matching up those documents to your Social Security, and if it's not on your return, you will get a notice asking where it is.
And when you are keeping these documents for your records, just in case you may get audited, how long should you keep most documents, your receipts and so on?
You should keep them at minimum, we recommend a minimum of 7 years. Since it is a filing with the federal government, the Internal Revenue Service, I would recommend keeping them permanently if you could, especially now with the ability of creating PDF files or having electronic methods of keeping copies of the returns.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for the great advice you've had.
Thank you.
And for more information on consumer tips, visit us at bbb.org.